nonfiction essay in progress called Becoming American. I am 14 years old on the morning of my naturalization ceremony. Sleep still lingers in my eyes as I sit at my family's kitchen table, pushing pieces of food back and forth across my plate. Eat, my mother urges, and I do. But between bites, I measure hesitant silences punctuating my family's hurried meal. Mixed with smells of toasted bread and freshly ground coffee, a stale dissonance hangs above us. After breakfast, my mother ushers my younger sister and me into my father's white sedan, her soft brown hands on our shoulders, smelling of cold cream. It is early November and frost coats the windows. My mother does not want to become an American, so she stays behind. As we pull out of the driveway, I look back through the window and watch her wave goodbye to us through a crack in the front door. Being an American is a privilege, my father says, his blue eyes glimmering like water as we carve down winding winter roads to the Department of Homeland Security. You'll see, when you're older, you'll be glad you have this passport. I've always thought that my father knew everything, but this time I don't believe him. I think of my mother. Has she sat back down at the kitchen table? Is she sipping her lukewarm café con leche? Is she wishing I stayed behind with her? I sit in the passenger seat, asking myself silent questions and watching as giant evergreens blur past my window. It would be years before I understood the reasons behind her hesitance. Hours later, I would find myself inside of a carpeted auditorium. In my lap would sit a piece of paper and a miniature American flag curled around a small plastic rod. I would be surrounded by families of different sizes and colors, by little girls in chiffon dresses and boys in pint-sized suits. I would read words projected onto a large screen, my stomach beginning to knot. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, state, or sovereignty, I would hear myself read off the screen before squeezing my sister's hand. Her dark brown eyes would be wide as they met mine. Our father would stand across the room, camera in hand, pride written into the creases of his face. But in my mind, I would not stay in that room. I would have floated far away, past the zapote trees and sagging power lines of Guatemala City, to my grandmother's kitchen, where I'd help her peel chiles and tomatillos to make a salsa. I would hear the thwap, 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 as she softened limes by throwing them down onto the cold tile floor. I'd smell traces of smoke from burning wood as it crept up the hillside from the valley below. I would not be there, inside of a building a few miles away from an immigration detention center where people who looked and talked like my family were locked away, swearing an oath to a country that I did not love. Thank you.